Commissioner Lawrence, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Sure will. Father, again tonight, we thank you for the privilege that we have to come and do the business of the county, and I pray that you would be with each leader in the county as I think tonight of the sheriff's department and the courts, law and courts, and the many other entities that are out here that we serve, and pray that you bless. Give us wisdom, give us strength, and give us grace, and give us your wisdom. And I ask all these things in our precious Lord and Savior's name. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Leyland.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leyland.
Present.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Present.
Commissioner Locke. Here. Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Howie. Present. Commissioner Barrera.
Present.
Commissioner Marquetti.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here. All right, everybody's here. Introduction of visitors. We'll start with our famous Parks Department there.
Scott Wyman, Cass County Parks.
Robert Parrish, Vice Chair to the Parks Commission.
James Tito, Deputy Finance Director.
LT.
Jennifer Pro Finance Director.
Irene Lendl, Upjohn Institute for Employment Research.
And Emily Petz with the Upjohn Institute.
Jake Young, Conservation District.
Beth Poppy, Penn Township.
Beverly Young, Village of Vandalia.
Hope Anderson, Cass County Treasurer.
Erica Espelin, Cass County GIS Director.
Clint Roach, Undersheriff.
Richard Mankey, Sheriff.
Carol Beeler, Probate Judge.
Cree Cross, Veterans Director. Emily LeGros, Village Manager, Cassopolis. Alexis O'Flynn, Village of Cassopolis.
Hi, I'm Colin Knapp, newest member of the Leader Publications.
Ambrosia Meldon, Marketing Communications Manager.
Peter Agostino, citizen, attorney, resident.
Rick Gervith, representing my parents, Pat and Rick Fisher Gervith.
Jackie Flug, property owner. Pat Gerber, property owner.
Richard Gervith, I guess I'm a property owner also. Thank you.
Vicki Sherry, resident, Newburgh Township.
Dan Covey, Newburgh Township Supervisor.
Les McClellan, Road Commission, Economic Development Corp., and 911 Committee.
I think that's everybody. All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to open the floor for public comments, but before I do, we've got 3 minutes. If you need more time after that 3-minute period, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to get a consensus of the board, and if they have no objections, I'll give you 3 more minutes. Then it's common practice so we don't have any back and forth, because that's not a really good idea. But if you have an actual issue that one of these commissioners represent, feel free after this meeting to go to them or come to me, please. And we will deal with your issue directly, but after the meeting, all right? With that said, I will open the floor for public comment. Say it one more time. Yes, sir, please.
People were having trouble sleeping in the evening, so watch a couple things to look at. Would you please? Thank you. If I'm short, let me know. Try to keep within the 2 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. That's good.
Give you one more.
Thank you. I'm here again. You probably terribly bored hearing me, but I'm here again. The main reason I'm here again is because we were led to believe, my attorney and myself and my family, that this committee, you commissioners, were kind of our last hope of being able to do something to deal with the road commission and the road that's proposed to go through our property. So I knew this would be a whole lot longer than 3 minutes, so I wrote you a letter, and I have some exhibits with that, and hopefully you'll be able to read that and digest it, and if you have any questions about anything in there, or questions about things that should be in there or not, please call me or email me. I would appreciate that. So I want to thank you with your patience. I want to thank you for listening to me. And let's hope we all have a happy future. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, floor is still open for public comment. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm Rick Gerbeth, and you probably remember me from last time when I was talking about with my parents about their property. And I guess there's 3 options that's on the table now, and all of them come in pretty close proximity to my parents' home. I guess what I'm trying to understand is why one of the legs off of this roundabout is actually heading east toward my parents' house before it corrects and goes west. I would, and I hope my parents are okay with me saying this, that the invite of anybody that would like to come and walk the property to basically look at what they have there compared to what's on the drawings, because there's some things that just don't make sense. And I'm just really, really concerned about my parents' health. You know, they've made this kind of their retirement area where they've enjoyed the fresh air and the beauty around them. It's almost like a national park in a smaller scale, but I'm just concerned for their health, not only mentally but physically down the road, and I just don't want that on anybody's conscience. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Floor is still open for public comment. Yes, sir.
Peter J. Agostino. I'm a son-in-law to Pat and Dick Gerbeth. I'm also an attorney in South Bend, Indiana, and a property owner in Cass County as well. I am concerned about some action of this board from January 19th, 2013, where I did present some information to the board, and reviewing the minutes that were kept by this board, I noticed that the handout that I presented was omitted. And so I don't know if this board has an official policy, custom, or practice of suppressing minute information provided to the board by the public. I think it's inappropriate to disregard and throw away information that's presented here, particularly in this case because the information I presented showed very clearly that the least expensive and best option that was being considered in a report that was funded by the Road Commission, that information was presented. It should be part of your record. Now, you have the power to not answer my questions. You have the power to ignore our requests. But I don't think anywhere do you have the power to ignore and suppress the truth. That ought to be part of the record. I'm disappointed that this board has not made it part of the record. And I hope that that gets corrected. The last thing I can do really is just plead to each and every one of you, including you, Ms. Marchetti, including you. We need your help. We need your help, not just blank stares and empty promises. We need your help on this. Thank you.
Get with me after the meeting, sir, about the minutes.
Pardon?
Get with me after the meeting, sir, after the minutes, please.
I will.
All right, floor is still open for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
I live just north of the Gerbis. They were going to take part of my property, and I guess they've decided not to, but they might need a grading permit. I don't know. Trying to find out information about anything from the consultant, the planning commission, or the road commission. It's like talking to a wall, trying to get information. But the Gerbis do have a beautiful piece of property, and they're going to tear down so many trees, which we got to stop the tree tearing down at some point in time. It messes up the ecosystem. We're already seeing the effects of all the destruction of property and land, and we need to do something to change it, or we won't have an earth to even walk upon. I just hope you realize the importance of all the animals, all the things that live in those woods. And if you put in the 2 roundabouts, you're not going to destroy half as much. It's going to cost less. I just hope that people wake up one of these days and realize the devastation that we're going to see in the near future, and we're already seeing it now. Thank you.
Pam, can you say your name again?
It's Jackie Flug.
Jackie Flug. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You don't have to come up here, ma'am. If you don't need, you can stand right there. I get it.
I have to express how I feel because this is my property, 50 acres, my husband and myself. And we put our whole heart in the place. We brought it back from terrible conditions, erosion and all. We worked with the agriculture department and try to create an ecology that was healthy, and we see the beautiful animals that live there in peace. It's very serene. There's nobody disturbing them, and for the road to come right to our place, I mean, they're bringing it way all the way. There's no question about that. And what it's going to do, I just can't imagine, but our great-grandchildren come out and play there, and they bring their cousins, and you see these kids, where can they go do that? They can't do it many places anymore. And I just pray and hope that somebody will realize what's going on here, and maybe we could have the other roundabout. It'd be a lot safer for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Floor is still open for public comment. Anybody else? Once? Twice? All right, public comment is now closed. Commissioner Locke.
Okay, I move to approve the agenda with the addition of the M30-23.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and support. Do we have any discussion about the motion? Hearing none? Oh. No? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no recognitions, but we do have 2 presentations, and the first is the State of Cass County's Economy and Housing, Dr. Irene Lindell from Upjohn Institute for Employment Research. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize for standing with my back to you, but my presentation is for you as well, and I do apologize. So, I represent... My name is Irene Lendl. I'm a Senior Director of Regional and Community Development at the Upjohn Institute for Economic Research, and I would like to do a little presentation that I presented earlier. And let me see where I should point this thing to move. Any help? It's not moving. So I will talk a little bit about the economy we are all experiencing, and I want to give you little details on your county. So this slide just tells that I represent the institute. That is a nonprofit and doing research in employment and unemployment and trying to alleviate public's suffering from not having jobs. I also direct the unit which is called Regional Economic and Community Development, and our team is doing applied research studies for local governments, businesses, nonprofit foundation, economic development entities, and we do this in different issues for economic development. So, as all of you might experience now a little bit, we are in this period of time where we're experiencing beginning of the recession, but this recession is very unusual because unlike regular recessions when we have economic downturns that is caused by gross domestic product drop, we don't see this time around. We see that actually our growth product is growing, our unemployment is going down, the jobless claims are going down, but the economy is suffering, and it's suffering primarily from inflation and the lack of the labor force. So for the lack of the time, I would not go through all these indicators, but I kind of color-coded them, and these are main indicators that Federal Reserve Bank and the main economists are looking for when they are basically spotting the signs that the economy is going into recession. Those that are green telling us that the economy is good. Those that are red is saying that we are going to the recession, and yellow is kind of on the brink. Can swing either way. So you can see that we kind of have 8 bad signs, 5 good signs, 2 neutral. So we basically about to enter in the recession, but recession is not here yet. So a lot of like smart economists, much smarter than I am, and a lot of newspaper outlets are talking about this issue, and they're talking that it's actually labor market that is driving this situation in our economy. So after the pandemic that basically was very, very devastating to our economy, we've seen that economy recovered and unemployment rate is going down. So that's usually the case when we watch, like if we have high unemployment, we know that we go into the recession, but we don't have the situation now. What is going on, and what you see here is a red line and a blue line, and you see a big divergence between the 2 lines. What this divergence means that we have a lot of jobs posted, but we can't fill those jobs. So the blue line is availability of those who are seeking jobs, and the red line are the companies that are looking for the jobs, and we see this huge gap. And this gap exists in all industries, whatever industry we look, whether it's manufacturing or service industry. This is economy overall, and this is Michigan economy, which is very similar to the US economy. And we see this throughout. What we also see in Michigan that is not like in the US on average, we see that the population of Michigan is aging, and it's aging more than the average of the United States. And the Michigan right now is considered the 12th oldest state in the nation. And you see the dotted lines show the projections, and the projections don't look good because we do want to see the population of Michigan growing. So what is going on in Cass County? The Cass County population is looking pretty healthy. It's staying, at least it's not declining at the rate it's declining in Michigan, but the age of population is increasing as well, like in all Michigan. This is the trend line of the population in age in Cass County. So what we also see, the civilian labor force is people who want to work. They're either employed or they're actively seeking jobs. So that rate is basically on a path of recovery. It's upward looking since pandemic. It's a good sign, but it didn't reach the pre-pandemic level yet. We also see that a lot of people from the Cass County commute to work, and they commute outside of state. And that's kind of by some secondary data estimates, as I am using, says that it's nearly 80% of Cass County residents commute outside of county. And you can see the county line, and you can see with that more intense blue, where the main employment centers are. And that's a likelihood where people are commuting or their destination where they're commuting for jobs. So one thing that is really good about Cass County economy is that you have industries that are, since last recession, growing as industry nationally, and it's also growing locally. And these industries are part of economic base of the Cass County. Economic base industries are those that are overrepresented in the county, meaning you produce goods from this industry and services that you export, so to speak, outside of county. So you produce it more than you consume it within the county. And that's your economic base. And I have like some large employers that you probably know by heart of this industries. And if you look in a map, and I think that's what triggered, and I thank you for invitation for this presentation, that's what triggered the presentation. If you look that among the Michigan counties, some economic institutions, and this one is a projection of Moody's Analytics, is saying that the projection for your county is actually very favorable. They are saying that employment growth is healthy in your county now, and although it looks pretty bleak for majority of counties in Michigan, for your county it's looked favorable. It has a positive employment growth projection for your county. So there are a lot of projections that are going from different institutions. And what I have here among other projections, again, I would not go very in detail through each of them because these are the national projections. It's saying the companies are doing very well. The people are doing comparably well compared to how it was before recession even. So everybody have resources and confidence in the market. So people keep spending money, which is for economy a good sign. Whether we will see or not next recession, it's a big question. However, one thing that brings attention of all analysis that talk about the future possibility of recession is a crunch in the housing market. And it seems like if labor is causing problems in the economy to the point where it can push it to next recession, the housing is a big factor for the labor. So at this point, I will turn the floor to my colleague, and she will present some slides on housing.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Emily, and I'm going to talk a little bit about housing. Is it this one? Yes. Okay. So here's the things I'm going to cover. I'm going to go into just a few things on Cass County housing in particular, just a few slides on some data we have, and then why create a housing plan, why is it important, kind of dive into the outline and process of a housing plan, and then showcase some examples of data we have from most recent housing plans in Oshtemo Township and in Kalamazoo County, just to kind of give you an example of some data that could be available for Cass. So here we go. Here we're looking at kind of some of the lay of the land. So you see that the median home values are a bit lower than they are compared to the state. We have very low owner and vacancy rates. The median rent is just a bit lower. We have about $737 for the median rent versus Michigan is $946. And the monthly median cost for homeowners is also just a bit lower than what we see for the state. So what we're seeing also is that you have older housing stock when we're comparing it to the rest of the state as well. So that will show up in some ways as far as maintenance and upkeep of homes. Yeah. Which one? And then for population, this is actually something we touched on earlier. So you do have an older population. So Cass County is in red, and you'll see that Michigan is in blue. And you'll see that your largest population demographics are that 65 to 75, the 45 to 54, and your 75 to 84. So you are trending towards an aging population, more so than the rest of the state of Michigan. Here we're looking at housing permits that were pulled for Cass County. You have one spike in 2020, but other than that large spike in 2020, we have a large kind of decrease where you see the recession in 2008, 2009. It comes up a little bit, and then most recently, it's kind of back down. So we're not building a lot, and this represents single-family and multifamily developments. So there's not enough creation of housing based on our population growth and overall demand for housing units. Here we're just comparing the price index versus the average wage. So there's a growing gap. It's starting to close just a smidge, but there's a growing gap between the price of housing and what people are making. So their gross income can't afford what it used to be able to afford as it pertains to home prices. So why create a housing plan? What's so special about it? Why is it important? When we start to get into some of the reasons why communities struggle to grow or aren't able to maybe support additional businesses, having enough housing to support the economic gain is vital. We need to coordinate your actions and funds in order to leverage available resources. So not only does it allow collaboration throughout the county to best utilize limited resources that are available or consolidate and create comprehensive policy solutions, it gives a lot of opportunity to provide more opportunities for growth. We always say, my background's in urban and regional planning, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So real quick about just an example outline of what a housing plan would look like, full of data, and it can be tailored to what the community would be most interested in. But this example is looking at, we have a chapter that covers the basic housing assessment, the lay of the land, what are the existing conditions, looking at population change for census tracts, percent overburden for renters and owners, and that's overburden, just a quick explanation of that word. It essentially means what an individual is paying, so their take-home gross pay. Generally, individuals can only spend 30% of their gross pay towards housing. At least that's the HUD's kind of standard, that an individual should not pay more than that 30% of their gross. So when someone is overburdened, it means that they're paying more than that 30%, maybe 40 or 50, and so they're financially pinched. Their budget is being challenged by the price of their housing. So we dive into those numbers, we look at what's the difference between renters and owners, and then we look at market demand. And this is where you can get into attracting the developments that you want to see by showcasing that there's a certain demand for specific housing types, by giving ranges of income targets for those housing types. Can be very beneficial and a very powerful tool to showcase the need and how far behind we are in housing creation for the county. Then we'll dive into strategies, which is where a lot of policy and collaboration takes place. So in that section, we will obviously utilize existing resources and tools and much needed proven methodologies of what has worked across the nation and even across other counties. So as far as the planning process, it looks very much like a standard master planning process. When we have a steering committee that we work with regularly that will help guide a lot of the goals and objectives and strategies. We work with community stakeholders. We have multiple meetings with community stakeholders to figure out, what is the need and what is the pulse from the community. And then dive into survey responses and community meetings. So public meetings, we have online surveys for those who are not able to attend public meetings to get the most participation possible. So I'm going to dive into just a few of the data points from a handful of plans that we've done to just kind of showcase. So here is actually, we're looking at Kalamazoo County, Michigan, and the United States, and we're comparing how that trend of housing prices in the region has just kind of taken off since 2020, which if you're looking for housing right now, this is not new data for you. And then this one is targeted at that overburden I talked about earlier. We're really looking at what percent of people's income is going towards housing. This is comparing it, United States, Michigan, and then in this case, Oshtemo Township. So you can really see where the overburden is. So this is 58%, so more than 50% is paying more than 25% of their household income on rent. It's a little better for homeowners, but 71% of homeowners pay less than 25% of their household income. Maybe not surprising. Homeowners are a little more stable. And then here is a chart we put together for Kalamazoo County, where we created a demand for specific housing types and specific areas based on urban form. And the number that gets kind of talked about the most is all the way in the bottom right corner is that 7,750, very close to 8,000 units is what we are behind in Kalamazoo County. So that's a number that if you were to choose to do a housing plan, we could create something similar for Cass County to get more specific demand in what type and in what income category and by how much. How far are we behind? One of the things that we've added is a tailored survey, online survey. It's, that would be partnered with cities, townships, villages, and neighborhoods. For the Kalamazoo County, we were able to get 3,000 total responses. This is 3,000 responses is much more than you would typically get at multiple community in-person meetings. So the amount of that feedback is very, very valuable. We take that data and we use it to help guide the plan and implement different policy recommendations. We also had a separate survey for those who are unhoused. We partnered with local agencies who were on the street surveying individuals in person for that. And there was about 170 responses to our unhoused survey. So here is just an example of some of the information we've got from the survey. So it's showcasing different types and different preferences. It's showing where people are now and where they would prefer to be. So is there, seems still overwhelmingly people in Kalamazoo County are looking for single family, but there's an increase in some alternative types like cottage courts and a few tiny homes, which has gotten recent media attention as well. So other things that is very useful about this, we're asking, which of the following do you worry about in your home and apartment? And we can separate this into renters and homeowners and really nail down into, are there issues that need to be addressed with landlords? Are there, more homeowner rehabilitation dollars that are needed? Overwhelmingly in Kalamazoo, if they had nothing to worry about, they were worried about their structure. They were worried about, the large elements of roof foundation, those really expensive pieces that people tend to put off or don't have enough money to fix quickly. And we also asked, why people choose to live where they do. What are they looking for? What should we prioritize when we're maybe prioritizing specific sites for larger developments? Is it proximity to work? Is it, natural areas? And then we asked this question without, calculating that technical 30%, just how do people feel? Do they feel it's affordable? Because they could have school debt or healthcare bills that impact kind of their budget, and they need, something at a different rate in order for it to be truly affordable. And also, when we say the word affordable, it just means what someone can budget. It doesn't necessarily mean like low income. And that, one more, okay. And then, so this is the unhoused survey, which I thought was really interesting. We asked those who are currently homeless, why did they move to Kalamazoo originally? And most people came to Kalamazoo for family, and then some people came because they were just born here, or they had a job. And then last but not least, for our unhoused survey, it showed that over 1/3 of these families were with children. So there was a lot more children than we knew about that were unhoused. So it was very, very helpful for the county to have this additional information to kind of power policy, implementation, collaboration, and progress. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions from the board? From the board? All right, hearing none,
Okay.
thank you.
You can talk afterwards if you have questions. Yeah.
Yes, please. All right. Up next, we have Cass County Land Bank report from my favorite treasurer.
Thank you for this opportunity to give an update for the Cass County Land Bank Authority's blight elimination program. The first round, we applied for the first round for the fiscal year 2023-2024 blight elimination program funds from the State Land Bank Authority. All 15 townships, 4 villages, and the city of Dowagiac were encouraged to submit their project lists to Cass County Land Bank. We ended up with 58 parcels submitted from 9 local units. The scale of vacant and abandoned properties is significant across Cass County, and the direct costs to address these properties are more than individual communities can bear. Land banks were established in Michigan as a flexible tool to return blighted properties to productive use through demolition, rehabilitation, and maintenance. There are currently 48 county land banks in the state of Michigan. Each county land bank was guaranteed a $200,000 allocation for this first round. I had several townships tell me in Cass County that they could spend that $200,000 in just their township. The parcels that we ended up submitting for the first round are all privately owned parcels, 8 demolitions and 1 stabilization. Keep in mind nuisance in accordance with local housing, building, plumbing, fire, or other related code or ordinance, or the property has had to have had utilities, plumbing, heating, or sewerage disconnected, destroyed, removed, or rendered ineffective for a period of 1 year or more, rendering the property unfit for its intended use. Or lastly, the property was tax reverted and owned by the county or a municipality. All these eligible properties must be owned by or under the control of the Cass County Land Bank Authority. Program funds used for eligible activities on privately owned eligible properties required that a lien be placed on the privately owned eligible properties. A release of lien may be provided conditioned upon demonstration of future development plans satisfactory to the state land bank and the local unit of government. Now the good news. It's great news in case you haven't heard. The county's land bank's getting another $500,000 to do these activities. The second round of funding is a guaranteed minimum of $500,000 for additional blight elimination to include this time rehabilitation of vacant residential, commercial, or industrial structures. Our plan is to apply competitively beyond the $500,000. I would like to give you a quick review of what those 9 from the first round look like, so you can turn the lights back off. Thank you. Project number 1. The first project is a church that was abandoned years ago. This building has been cited as a public nuisance by the Village of Vandalia for several years. It is a dilapidated structure with several IPMC violations as well as village code violations. The roof is badly damaged and has been letting in rain and snow for years. The building is beyond repair. It's dangerous and a hazard to the neighborhood and community. The project as proposed will involve demolishing the church and cleaning up the waste throughout the property. An asbestos assessment will also be conducted, as will for every one of these projects, and appropriate measures taken to ensure appropriate remediation if necessary. There is a well-loved kids' playground and brand-new pickleball courts less than 1/10 of a mile from this unsafe structure. The owner of the property is currently in discussion with the developer about senior housing, unit senior housing for this location. The Cass County Land Bank is discussing a possible brownfield plan with the Cass County Brownfield Authority. Project number 2. This is unsafe structures in Howard Township. The structure was occupied until the Department of Health came and recommended the residents be removed. The Howard Township Blight Officer found the house full of rats and had 45 complaints. The building is beyond repair. There is a park directly across the street with a children's playground, shelter, volleyball courts, and barbecue grills. Proof of site control in this case included a default judgment and citations. Project 3 is in the village of Cassopolis. It contains a severely fire-damaged primary dwelling. The homeowner plans to build a new home on the property after demolition. Demolition of the parcel will complement existing development plans in and near the project area. Project number 4 is a dilapidated structure in Newburgh Township that has been empty for 35 years. The owner is thrilled to have the opportunity to get this cleaned up, as well as the township. He will be expanding his yard and maybe build a garage on it. Wayne Township has been trying for over a year to get this property owner to demolish the dangerous residential structure. The structure has been identified and deemed a blighted nuisance. The owner has expressed his intention to develop a new home on the property following demolition. Removing this blighted property that is filled with trash and rodents will promote public safety in the neighborhood by eliminating a structure that has had a profound negative impact on the surrounding properties and their owners, and it poses a safety hazard. This will also help grow the local tax roll. Project number 6 is in LaGrange Township. It contains a severely fire-damaged dwelling in violation of International Property Maintenance Code. The structure is unsecure and dangerous. It's in a densely populated neighborhood, and it's an attractive nuisance to children who might play in the structure to their danger. Project number 7 has been cited as a public nuisance by the Village of Marcellus for several years. It's a dilapidated structure with several code violations. The structure is now vacant, and the village has a consent order requiring compliance. The structure is near Woodland Apartments and Stevens Memorial Park, where new housing and a new playground is being developed. There is a concern that there is a perception of some degree of danger and unattractiveness would drive down the value of neighboring homes were they to be constructed nearby. Project number 8, the owner of this parcel wants to use the land to expand her property as she owns the adjacent parcel. The trailer is abandoned, dangerous, and a hazard to the neighborhood. The property is close to the public Stone Lake Beach, and demolition will complement existing economic development in the village of Cassopolis. And lastly, this project was previously home to a used car dealership. Unsalvageable cars, car parts, and related materials are strewn throughout the property and remain clearly visible from the road. Silver Creek Township has been actively involved in trying to remediate this property on M51 during the course of 2022. The property is in a highly visible area on a main highway located at the gateway to Cass County. This project will primarily involve debris removal activities in order to clean up the site and bring it into compliance with local property maintenance codes. Debris removal will involve removing all the abandoned vehicles, vehicle scraps and components, and related waste located on the property. This high-profile area has in recent past drawn catalytic converter thieves into the Silver Creek community. This Cass County map shows the 58 parcels currently in our blight elimination program and 99 contaminated parcels as identified by the Michigan Department of Eagle. Identifying clusters of blighted properties, clusters of contaminated sites, parcels that are both blighted and contaminated, as well as parcels that are located in gateways or major roadways, is an important part of our evaluation of priorities for both the first and the second round. We are opening up now for additional submissions from all of our townships for the second round. One of the things that caused some delay was that there were some homeowners that didn't want to agree to the liens, but there were many that did want to agree to the lien. So we're actually having to re-look at that whole list of 58 because in some cases they're not a good fit for the blight elimination program. So in some ways we're going to start over from scratch, but and opening up the second round. And we do have some municipalities that are represented here. They're all anticipating the opening of the second round, and I'm ready to get those lists now. We're ready to start getting those lists together. I'd like to give a special thank you to Erica Espelin, the Director of GIS. She actually put together this map. It's an interactive map of blighted parcels and contaminated parcels in the county, and she has created multiple maps for me for all these submissions for the grant. Also would like to thank Beth Pompey, who's here today from Zoning Solution. She submitted the majority of these parcels to our land bank. And Tylynn Williams in my office, she organized these 58 submissions for me. And also our land bank vice chair and Cass Village manager, Emily LeGros, she helped with the required blight elimination agreement that was required for all these submissions, as well as the lien document that we needed. Thank you for your time. I am available for questions if you have any.
I just have, first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it?
Yes, ma'am, please.
First of all, thank you. And then second thing, now you talk about being contaminated. I guess when I think of contaminated, I think of maybe like an old gas station or a factory or something. Is that what you're talking about?
So the eligible properties, the eligible activities are blight demolition,
Yeah.
or stabilization, or environmental cleanup. For the first round, for environmental remediation, it required that it had to be a publicly owned property. It could not be privately owned, period. That may change for the second round, but we did have multiple properties in the county that have that. They have tanks underground. They would like to develop those, and that's where I had to stop for the first round. I'm still taking those lists, because if it opens up for the second round, it's certainly a great thing to do for those communities. Because if we can clean that up, then that property is available for, shovel ready for some kind of a development.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The townships would just submit this to you?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The townships would just submit their list to you?
Yes, so as we communicated with all the townships for the first round, I submitted to each of them a template, because they can't just give me a parcel number. There's a lot of legwork they have to do when they submit it. So I have a template. They should submit it back to me in that template form.
Ma'am, you said that the people didn't want to get that lien, and I'm familiar with that.
Yes.
Could you explain briefly to the public what that lien entails and why it's a good idea that they should go ahead and do that?
Sure. Traditionally, how have we addressed blight in the county? If a local unit did a demolition, they would then send the bill to the homeowner. $10,000 bill, $15,000 bill. If he doesn't pay it, then they put it on then they roll it delinquent to my office. I pay them out on year 1, but then year 3 comes and that taxpayer still hasn't paid it, then we sell the parcel. Well, now you're looking at a vacant piece of land that has delinquent taxes plus the cost of the demolition in the minimum bid. So it doesn't sell for that price. So then I have to charge back the local unit to get back the money to make the delinquent tax revolving fund whole. That is a big risk for our local units. And that's why I stated earlier that the direct cost to address these properties are more than these individual communities can bear. So I propose this to the landowner. If you don't want to go that route, let the land bank do the demolition. The local unit doesn't have to come out of any money. And you will get a lien, but that lien doesn't have to be paid until you sell the property. What if you never sell the property? Then you never pay the lien.
And that demolition and the improvement increases the property value, so if you do sell it, you're gonna come out ahead anyway in the end.
That's right. Like the church in Vandalia.
Yes, ma'am.
That's gonna be a $60,000 lien. That didn't scare him at all.
Right.
He knows that if he sells this to a developer and they build apartments there, it'll be taken care of. But the way it was dangerous, and he had no other way to get the work done. So all these families were all thankful for this program.
Yes, ma'am.
But I did have several that were scared of the lien, so.
Yeah, I get it. All right, ma'am, if there's no more questions from the board, I appreciate your time and your hard work. We all appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into our proposed consent agenda. Vice Chair Leyland.
I move the above listed items be voted on at one time by roll call vote and be considered as the consent agenda by the Board of Commissioners.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
Commissioner Howie,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Leyland,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
All right.
Consent agenda passed by roll call vote.
All right. Committee reports. District 1, Commissioner Leyland.
I have nothing to report tonight.
All right. District 2, Commissioner Lawrence.
Had a meeting with the courts, and it was kind of eye-opening, and I really appreciate what they do, and I'm looking forward to interacting with them and going to Woodlands and kind of doing some visiting and chatting. So,
All right. Thank you, sir. District 3, Commissioner Locke.
No report tonight.
District 4, that's me. Had my first Southwest Michigan Community Action Agency meeting. It was an eye-opener. And everybody here that's heard me speak in the last 2 and plus some years, I have a passion for the homeless community. And that is one of my platforms that I can actually do some real help for our community, plus Van Buren and Berrien County. So that's good. Following up on what I said last meeting about the Veterans Millage, me and the Veterans Director back there, Carrie Krause, we have been looking into it, and we're going to move forward with that also. And we might have an avenue to where we don't have to put it on the ballot and wait till 2024. You know, it's not guaranteed, but it's something that we're still going to push for. Other than that, I have nothing. District 5.
Okay. Last Wednesday, I went to the Environmental Health Division, Van Buren Cass District Health Department, just to, get to know them and find out what they do, and I had no idea how many permits they do issue. I was there for a couple hours. It was very fascinating. I would suggest if you do have the time to go up and make an appointment and speak with George Friday. He's very knowledgeable about septic permits, well permits, tattoo parlor inspections. They do home loan evaluations, swimming pool programs. They also do restaurant training and also inspect too. So it was very eye-opening and interesting, I felt. So I think it'd be worth your time if you wanted to go up and talk. So thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. District 6, Commissioner Barrera.
No report today.
Sir. District 7, you gotta outdo me.
Okay, Human Services Coordinating Council met Wednesday, February 8th, and this is a meeting of all of the social service agencies as well as the law and courts attend. The presentation we had at that meeting was from Curtis Niffen, and he's from the Michiana Family Center. The Michiana Family Center's values are to champion families and support children, especially those in foster care, and to collaborate with the community. The last part of the meeting, we always have a roundtable, and we learned that the DHHS office in Cass will have a new phone system with an 800 number. And all needs will be taken care of through the phone system, which will operate Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that begins on March 27th. I also attended a Michigan Works meeting and learned that the unemployment rate in Cass is 3.2%. The labor participation rate is smaller than it was pre-pandemic for the Tri-County area. It was reported that the state is focusing on electric vehicles, batteries, and semiconductors. The Cass County businesses that were awarded the Going Pro training grants are CHT, Hydro, Creative Foam, and the Council on Aging. I also attended a pipeline training workshop at Lake Michigan College, and last night we had the county leaders meeting, and it was well attended. There were 5 supervisors, the clerk and the president of the village of Marcellus were there, Administrator Newton, Sheriff Benke, and 5 commissioners. The meetings will be quarterly with the next one on April 19th, 2023. And that's it. Short.
I commend you.
Thank you.
That's amazing, all the things you do, and I appreciate it, and so does our county.
Thank you.
All right, District 8, Commissioner Lee.
I have nothing to report.
All right. All right, Matt Newton.
Yes, my report is in the packet. I got a couple things I'll touch on real quick. With the historic courthouse renovation, we'll have a formal flyer that we'll announce. Hopefully we'll have something we can talk about tomorrow as well, but it'll be going out to the website, social media. We're going to do a community event on March 10th. It'll give everybody a chance to kind of come through and see the demo work that's been done. We'll have light refreshments and some information for everybody to kind of see what's planned. So we'll get that information out in the next couple of days. I'm also excited to announce that we have our digital policy manual will be posted to our internal county site for all staff by the end of next week. It's something we've been working on for a really long time, over a year now at this point, so really looking forward to getting that out there. Opioid settlement. Wanted to give a quick update on that. We actually have received funds from the opioid settlement now. Those have been processed to the county. One of the providers, I think it was the Janssen portion of the settlement, actually paid 5 years of the settlement up front for an accelerated term. So we do have a healthy fund balance that's building there. I know we had talked about kind of establishing some sort of a meeting arrangement with our elected officials, community stakeholders. I know Woodlands has reached out, and so has the Cass Family Clinic. I don't know if the board would want to look at trying to establish some sort of an ad hoc committee to look at this, or how you want to approach it, but just wanted you guys to know the money has been received for this year. There's a couple caveats, I guess, is we're still looking at, with that accelerated payment schedule, what are we going to see for the next, this is actually 1.6 million spread out over 18 years was kind of the original agreement. So it's a significant amount of money, but it's actually small portions over a long period of time. And there is actually another settlement that they're working on with, I think, 5 other distributors, or I'm not sure if it's distributors or what the actual portion, I think it's like CVS, Walmart, I think it's where essentially the entities that kind of sold that. We're working on that too, and that'll be kind of a similar process of what we did with the other ones, where there'll be kind of a master agreement and a settlement kind of that outlines how that all works. We're working on that as well. So I know it was something we've talked about. It will be, we do have the funds available now, so it's a good idea to start trying to figure out what are those projects going to look like that we want to explore, and talk about funding those. And then the last thing, I guess, on notes of grants as well, we had a great meeting today talking about a number of different grant opportunities that we're looking at. I think especially kind of post-COVID now here, there's a lot of different kind of funding opportunities that are coming from the ARPA funds from the state. There's some recycling opportunities we're exploring, a couple different things with community facilities. So I don't have anything specific to announce today, but I just wanted everybody to know we are constantly looking at what opportunities there are through different state agencies and the federal government, and working to try to identify opportunities where we can secure funds. Last thing, I guess, is I wanted to note, if you could, after me, go to the finance report. I realized that we didn't have it listed on the agenda, but Jennifer does have a report in there.
Well, I have a comment that pertains to administrator's report.
Sure.
It is, and for the public and for the board, I'm going to acknowledge that mine and our administrators' focus, we're online, and one of our top priorities is the morale of this county and its employees. We went through and made some changes, but one thing that we both will acknowledge on here is that we're going to start having a meeting similar to the brown bag meeting with all the elected officials, but we're going to have it with all the department heads to try and increase that morale and find out what issues or things we can do good, things we can sustain, and things we need to do better. Okay? So, with that said, finance report.
The report's in the packet. I talked to the auditors this morning, so I wanted to update you on our component units. So our audit's going well. There's about 9 more items or so to get turned in. As far as the component units, we've got Woodlands initial drafts. So our auditors are reviewing that, and so that one's super close. Medical care facility, their rough draft should be coming out within the next week. So those are great things. And then the road commission is our final one. They've got one item that they're waiting to turn in that Terry Wyman has been working on. They're waiting on a third party that helps them with that part of it. So all of us are very close in getting to the end very quickly on the audit.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
All right. County partners, Jake Young, I will not forget you. I have your name written down.
I came back. I brought notes so I can stay on track here. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your time. Just a quick update from the Conservation District. Wanted to first give kudos to Erica and her team at the GIS office. They've helped us modernize how we're using maps at the district. And Cass County residents have been really happy to receive more detailed informative maps related to their projects. So thank you, Erica and team. Yesterday we held our second free well water testing event of the year at the Dowagiac Library in conjunction with the Van Buren Cass Health Department. Everything went well, everyone tested clean, so that's good. We'll be scheduling another water testing event in the spring and another one later in the year. And thank you to the library for hosting us. Quick tree sale update. Everyone's calling, asking about the tree sale. It's an incredible amount of work. It's not a repeatable thing. Luckily, we've had a volunteer step in and donate about 40 hours to designing the catalog and help with the price list and whatnot. We're hoping to go live with the catalog next week. And I'm hoping we can get it online like our neighboring counties so that we can get it into more people's inboxes and do better with our sales. So that's moving forward. Hopefully I'll have a better update on the tree sale next time. We're also aware of the changes to the Solid Waste Committee and would like to be a part of that conversation to help move things forward. We can commit some of Corey Blavis' staff time, but we are already short on resources, so there'll be a limit there. We will need adequate funding to contribute to the significant amount of time required to establish this program, which would include recycling for the county. Lastly, I want to mention we are hosting a pollinator workshop on Saturday, March 11th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. at the Cass District Library. Master gardener and pollinator champion Jennifer Miller will be leading the discussion, which is intended for farmers, landscapers, and home gardeners. And I did bring some flyers for that. If anyone wants one, I'm happy to give them to you, and I'll hang one on the board when I leave.
And you are in Corey's office, so you're aware of the change of the chair, and the vice chair is now the chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, vaguely, but
Yeah.
yes.
Good enough.
Yep, Corey told me some stuff, so.
Yeah, that's all you want to know.
But we do want to recycle, so.
Got it. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Have any other county partners? Don't want to forget anybody. If not, I'd like to introduce my state representative, the Brad Paquette.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Quite the introduction there. Holy cow. Yeah, I'm Brad Paquette. If you don't know me yet, good to be here. I, after November, picked up extra Cass townships, which is great. Pokagon and also Wayne Township in the city of Dowagiac are now in the 37th district, which I encompass. When I traded out some areas on the Lakeshore in Berrien County, which are pretty much annexed by Chicago, so I'm not going to cry about that one bit. I'm very happy to have more Cass County in my district, which brings me here. One of the things that I want to kick it off with is just that I learn best by being in touch with folks, people calling me, people disagreeing with me, telling me where I'm wrong, and a lot of the bills that I get to vote on, I only have two buttons on my desk, a yes and a no, and I know I've spent a lot of time speaking with some folks in this room in particular. I know our county clerk and county treasurer who chatted about a handful of pieces of legislation over the last 4 years where I was able to either help water down or just be a no on. One thing that I do want to mention that is going to be up on the docket this term, I'm on the Local Government Municipal Finance Committee, Education Committee, and Higher Education Committee. And short-term rentals, which is I know is a hot-button issue for all of us. I did co-sponsor a bill last term. Commissioner Marchetti, you know this very well, where you gave me a good roasting, and I'm grateful for that. I made a mistake there, stepped back off the bill because I was a co-sponsor, but I removed myself from there because of some of the input, a lot of the input that I got from people that told me how some of that legislation, and specifically the language, is a very short bill, but that language applied in ways that I didn't specifically understand fully. And that's something that I'm very grateful always for a good rebuke. But that is going to be another area where there's a crack. Where I stand on short-term rentals is I don't think they should be banned outright or regulated to oblivion. And I don't think anyone in Cass County is doing that. But I know it's an area where there's a lot of hostility in our townships, in our cities, in our villages, that we need to figure out how to come to a leeway and find some balance there. Last week, we did just vote on House Bill 4001, which is a lot of different things. It's $1.2 billion in taxpayer dollars. We, in the House in particular, did a lot of painstaking work to not spend a lot of the dollars that we have as surplus. We saved about $9 billion on the docket, because when dollars especially are printed by the feds, it makes all of our dollars worth less, yes, and that brings pressure to spend them quicker. But when you pour dollars into things, especially things like roads, that obviously magically makes contracts go up, aggregate costs of aggregate go up too. So we did a lot of painstaking work to save and have a surplus of $9 billion on the docket in the state. It was pushed to have $1.2 billion spent through this House Bill 4001, which had a couple of good things in it, an earned income tax reduction and pension tax removal, which were good things across the board, but then it was wrapped in with some corporate welfare funding, and then also a removal of the across the board income tax reduction from 4.25 to 4.05, which is one of the things that I've been campaigning on for a very long time, is to reduce our income tax. So that was an area where I wanted to have dissent. My friends across the aisle limited dissent. We could not speak at all on the House floor, and that's an area where I got quite upset. I was hollering, and that is something that made some of the TikTok videos people made of me speaking about that, because I do believe in good discourse. I believe in good dissent. Before this, I was actually speaking with a constituent who was one of my biggest trolls, and he and I had the best conversation when it comes down to in person, and that's something I very much appreciate. A couple of other things that are on the docket I'm working on. Things I'm highly involved in education. I chaired the K-12 subcommittee on appropriations for education and MDE, so very much my wheelhouse. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this, I learn best by doing. Especially, I came into the conversation. I'm grateful that I thought I was going to speak during public opinion. I apologize. Thank you for this, because I came in and I know we have a lot of input here on something that I wasn't too privy to. But those are areas that in my office, if anyone here can bring me in, involve me, I'm very grateful for those conversations as well, and trying to get to the nuts and bolts of things. And as I mentioned, a lot of people in Lansing that will give you one side of the story, but when you actually talk to who it applies to and the people that you represent, it's a different story, and I like to make sure that I try to drill down into the truth of much of that. Two things, actually one other thing I know I've already heard from a commissioner on the Open Meetings Act and the local government. I know that there's going to be a push to try to allow voting through Zoom, and that's something I'm going to be very opposed to. I do believe that people should be voting in front of their constituents. It should be open to the public. That is an area I'm going to draw a hard line on, but we're going to have a lot of deliberation of that in committee as well. One issue with the 37th District being on the border of Indiana, with the way we had an economic development presentation here and talking about that, and with our employers, is the way the MEDC, or the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, often issues grants is that they're looking for employers to have their employees live in the district. And as we saw highlighted, we have a lot of employees who might work in Cass County, but they live across the border, and that is an area where sometimes the way that MEDC grants are issued out is they want to make it so that you have your employees live in Michigan, and that's something that we're trying to work on to change as well, with how they issue those grants and some of those rigid requirements. I know my predecessors did a lot of good work on that, but that's something that we can, I think, even do better. On more intense note, one of the things I've been embroiled in is there was a Project Veritas video that had to do with an individual who was claimed to be a director and executive director of the mRNA platform for Pfizer. And the video had a lot of different claims and things along those lines, which I myself have a close to the heart issue with, and then a lot of constituents that were talking about this. And so I've been asking the question if this gentleman even worked for Pfizer, in what capacity, and going through all the different behind the scenes protocols with the government affairs people. And we actually just found out today that this gentleman does work for Pfizer in the capacity high up that he does. And so we just found that out just recently, which is really important, I think, with the conversation. All of us know how divided everyone is along every line of questioning and what the government does. But that's something that I think bringing clear discourse to, again, and clear communication to some of these hot button issues is key. And so that's something that very much embroiled in, but also very much willing to speak with people who have opposing viewpoints. On a very positive note, I don't know if any of your constituents heard, but Starlink has been going over in our skies. We had some of these balloons and things along these lines, and I actually had one of my neighbors yell at me. I ran out, I got a video of Starlink, which is like 48 different satellites, which looks really, really unnerving when you see it in the sky. But it's been flying over our area the last couple of days, and it's nothing to be concerned about, just Starlink. But on a positive note, again, just want to reiterate, a lot of stuff out there. Definitely going to be. I live right behind Walmart, so I'll be coming out here as much as I can and connecting with you. But I appreciate the behind-the-scenes, one-on-one calls for anyone that's willing.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, to mix up the order, Judge Beeler, the floor is yours if you would like it.
Good evening, everyone. The only thing I just wanted to mention was just to echo about the opioid settlement money and to hope that we can have talks on that soon, because that's been a long time in the coming. And specifically the grant that the courts have, the COSAP grant, that was really opioid focused, and it's how we got MAT some funding for them in the jail, and that's all fully operational now, and that's going really well. So maybe there's some ways to leverage the rest of our COSAP grant money, since we're almost at the end of that grant. Because we always want to spend as much of that money as we can, since it's not county money. And so that's important. And I think that was the only announcement I wanted to make. So
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is the drain commissioner here?
No, he's skipped out.
Oh, man. Prosecutor, what about the representative from the prosecutor? He's in class right now, in a workshop. My sheriff, you have the floor if you would like it.
Just a reminder that next Saturday's vaccination clinic at the Animal Control. You can call 445-3701 to get an appointment, to get a reservation for your vaccination. It doesn't give you a slot in the line, it just reserves the vaccine. They have over 120 people signed up to have that done on next Saturday from 9 to 2. It's your opportunity to get your vaccine, rabies vaccine, which is required to get your dog license. The treasurer wants her dog license money, so.
That's right.
So that's a good way to get that taken care of in short order without having to have an office call. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, sir. Hope, would you like the floor again?
No.
Did Monica give you anything? No. Okay. All right. That takes care of it. All right, we're going to move on to new business. Number 1, Commissioner Marquetti.
Yes, R 23-30. R 23-23 is a resolution to endorse February as Black History Month. I'm going to read that resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas February is National Black History Month, and whereas Cass County is home to more than 51,000 residents and more than 4,000 are African Americans, and whereas Cass County was home to several stations on the Underground Railroad from 1830 to 1860, and over 1,500 freedom seekers passed through this area on their way to Canada, helped by Quaker and free black communities. And whereas in the 1840s and 1850s, many free black families arrived here, bought land and established thriving farms, assisted by Cass County's Quaker community, and many descendants of those families still reside in Cass County. And whereas Underground Railroad Days is an annual festival that celebrates the story and the legacy of the Underground Railroad in Cass County. And whereas our African American brothers and sisters are part of our modern story as leaders and important members of our county community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cass County Board of Commissioners to uphold and endorse February as Black History Month and encourage all members of the community to participate in events surrounding Black History Month and to celebrate this important part of our heritage in Cass County. And I move we accept this resolution.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a support. Do we have any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Locke,
Yes.
Commissioner Howie,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Leyland,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawrence, I apologize.
Yes.
Yes, resolution R 23-23 passes by roll call vote.
Number 2, Commissioner Lee.
I move to approve the Lou Animal Control. Support.
We have a motion on the floor and support. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, Vice Chair Leyland.
Does anybody want me to read this entirely?
No.
All right. R 25-23 is a resolution to commemorate the Michigan Association of Counties 125th year anniversary. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and support on the floor. Any discussion? Resolution, yeah. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Howie,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Leyland,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke.
Yes.
R 25-23 passes by roll call vote.
Number 4, Commissioner Howie.
I move to approve M-26-23 revised Van Buren Cass County Board of Health bylaws.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and support. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You all don't seem very awake today. Motion carries. Gotta say it with more authority. Number 5, Commissioner Barrera.
I move to approve motion M-27-23, motion to approve the purchase of 2 Chevy Tahoe vehicles and all the necessary equipment for the Sheriff Patrol Division at the price not to exceed $111,066.
A second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a support. Do we have any discussion?
Can we have a brief explanation from the sheriff on it?
We can. Sheriff?
What was that?
Just a brief explanation for the purchase.
So annually, we replace squad cars, so we have them in a rotation on an annual basis. This year, we actually had budgeted for 3 squad cars to be purchased. I've recommended to have 2 be purchased through the state purchasing program. So it is at a state price that's already been developed. I did check with our local dealer to see if he could be competitive with that price, and he could not. So we're going with the state purchasing program. Included in this price is the equipment to go in and on the car. I did have a question from Commissioner Leyland today wanting to know if we're putting push bumpers on the, or protective bumpers, I like to call them, on the car, and we are going to put those on. We're transferring those all over to our squad cars, hopefully to reduce the damage rate. Now, it takes about 3 months to get a car fixed if it's involved in a crash, so we want to try to reduce those damages by paying a little on the front end instead of just on the back end. And this purchase is made through the motor pool fund, which the motor pool fund was set up in the late 90s to help alleviate costs in purchasing vehicles. So then departments pay back the motor pool fund over, in this case, a 4-year period, reducing the costs on that annual basis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sir. Any more discussion?
Sheriff,
Whoop.
you and I spoke earlier this week. Just to recap on the conversation that we had, there was also mention that there was a couple of vehicles that were going to be taken out of
I'm
service,
sorry.
right?
You are correct. There are 2 vehicles, the 2017 Ford sedan and a 2018 Ford sedan, one with 148,000 miles and one with 130-some thousand miles that are currently being used. What we do is we take a car out of service and we put it in what we call the retirement section of our cars, and they do transports and low-speed things instead of being for patrol purposes. So we factor those out when we do this. And when we do sell those, we sell those through a company called Bittergy, and then we get the return on that, and that goes back to the motor pool fund, right? Hit the microphone. Yes, but those are the 2 vehicles we're looking to rotate out.
Don't move. Any further questions?
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right. Motion on the floor in a second. Already had discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. In the military, we say hua. Number 6, Commissioner Lawrence.
I make a motion and move that M 28-23 is a motion to approve the below listed budgets for the basic grant funding for the years 2022 and 2023.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and support. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7.
Motion 29-23 is a motion to offer support, a support letter, sorry, there's a typo there. I'm sorry, let me start over. Motion to offer support from a letter from Robert Parrish concerning the protection of the night sky over Dr. Lawless International Night Sky Park. I so move.
A second.
We're fixing that typo there. Got it. All right, we have a motion on the floor and support. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Number 8, Commissioner Marquetti.
Yes. M-30-23 is a motion to approve, let me see if it's, okay, it's a motion to approve using Clark Hill as, as attorney for the county, and I move we approve this motion.
Second.
Okay.
Well, we have a motion on the floor and support. Any discussion?
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
oh, okay. All right, so as we all are familiar, there's been some questions about the Open Meetings Act. And the medical care facilities attorney was doing a presentation on the Open Meetings Act and FOIA. And Christian sent me an email and the Zoom link, and so I attended that along with Administrator Newton and Commissioner Leyland. And the three of us were very, very impressed by this attorney. And I asked Administrator Newton if I could give him a call and see if he would be interested in representing us for certain things. We learned in talking to Carl Buterer, one of our attorneys, that he felt he had a conflict of interest. And on one occasion when we talked to him, he brought in their expert, Foster Swift's expert on the Open Meetings Act, and she also had a conflict of interest in that they represent other parts of Cass County, other people in Cass County. So when I spoke to, his name is Marshall Great, and I was really impressed with him when I spoke to him. He was very, very down to earth. And in fact, he's even, I wasn't aware that the board is the one, I thought that the administrator was the one who got our attorneys, but Marshall said, no, absolutely not, it's the whole board. So he had sent me this engagement letter, and I forwarded it to Matt, but he also sent the engagement letter to Matt as well. So this is the reason for looking for representation where he really knew what he was talking about.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
ma'am.
move to amend the motion by adding in a section titled Requirements between background and reviews. Under requirements will read, any charges need to be pre-approved by the Board of Commissioners.
So how does that work? Do we approve the amendment first, or?
So you actually have to ask him, and then he has to revert to me.
Okay.
So we have a motion, support, discussion, we have an amendment, so we need a second to that amendment.
Second.
So we have a second for that amendment. All in favor, oh,
So you open for discussion.
do we have a discussion for that?
Oh, yeah, I just have a question. So in other words, if we are going to talk to Marshall Gray, that's his name. So we need the whole board approval before we do that? Is that what you're saying, or?
If there's a charge incurred for that discussion.
Okay, but we don't do that.
Talking to an attorney, there's gonna be a charge.
Yeah, oh, yeah, but we don't do that with any other attorney.
Yes, yes, sir.
How do we effectively communicate with the county representation, not knowing how long it's gonna take to communicate, or how much time it's gonna take, and what it's gonna cost, before we get approval?
Well, because this is more expensive than the normal council, I just want to make sure that when this council is used, that it's going to be used for specific purposes and not just for everything.
So are we going to have a list of specific purposes what we can use them for?
Anywhere that there's a conflict, that's my understanding,
Yeah,
you're
keep
using
going.
it for a conflict.
Well,
Administrator, do you know if the last county representation was approved by the Board of Commissioners? The current?
I do not believe that it was.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Considering the conversation going around this topic, and I know we have a motion on the floor, is there a way that we could just table it for the following meeting? To just clarify any questions that may be surrounding this?
I will have to ask my parliamentarian.
So lay on the table is a higher class than amend, so you can move to lay the motion and the amendment on the table, and then both can be reconsidered at the next meeting. So you could make a motion to lay it on the table, but then the motion and the amendment are tabled and would come in under old business at the next meeting.
Hear what he said.
If the limit passes.
Could I add something real quick?
Yes, please.
The only thing, just even if it's tabled, just to consider for the future would be, the only challenge I can see after sitting here thinking about it with respect to kind of pre-authorizing service is that it would be more pertinent to authorize like a particular like topic or like, hey, I'm going to take this matter to the attorney. It's a little harder to say how much time it's gonna be, because I don't know if it's gonna be a half-hour call, is it gonna be an hour call, or are they gonna spend, you know, an hour or two? But I think it would be reasonable to say, this is the issue that we're bringing, and get authorization for that. That, I think, was something that we could consider for sure.
So with that said, you could amend your amendment motion to reflect that, if that's what you choose. If not, we're gonna move to Sam if he's going to do it.
Oh.
Well, I suppose, I'm not necessarily opposed to what's going on here, it's just we walked into this meeting today and we're handed this packet. And just in the, you know, in full transparency, I want to make sure that the public gets to also, you know
I
what's
move that
going
we
on.
lay it on the table for the next meeting.
Second. There it is.
Okay, okay, hold
We got it,
please.
yeah, pause for writing. I'm tracking. So I'm only gonna, once,
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it,
unless it fails.
unless it fails.
Okay, we're moving to table. Leyland, Lee supports.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion?
May I ask for a roll call vote?
Yes. Roll call, please.
Uh-huh,
For tabling.
for tabling. Okay. We are at Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Leyland,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Marquetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Locke. Yes. Commissioner Howie.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we are tabling that conversation.
That went pretty good. All right. All of our new businesses complete. We're gonna move on to board member comments. Gonna start with my vice chair, Commissioner Leyland.
I told myself about 4 times today not to forget what I wanted to say during board member comments, and I've forgotten.
You have time.
Maybe he'll think of it.
Commissioner Barrera, give him time.
Just wanted to talk about the leadership meeting that Roseanne already, Commissioner Marquetti already touched on, but we did have the leadership meeting last evening. That was an opportunity, that was my first opportunity to be able to go to that meeting. That was some of the township supervisors, some of the commissioners, the county administrators, some of the electeds. And it was a great opportunity for me to be able to sit there and just share information amongst everyone in the room. It was, for me, it was very beneficial, considering that I was able to talk with Bob Thompson, the head of road commission, as well as Eric, the Milton Township supervisor, surrounding the conversation, particularly about the Gumwood project, and me being able to ask questions to both those gentlemen at the same time. So, just again, I appreciate being part of that meeting, and I look forward to any future meetings like that.
He's got it. Commissioner Leyland.
So Jackie Taylor sent everybody an email. Mary, can you hold that map up, please? So you've got a copy in your email and a physical map in front of you. That's for tomorrow's workshop.
Oh, right.
So pay very close attention and bring that with you because it can get very confusing driving back there.
Extremely.
So
Yes.
just a word to the wise and bring that with you.
All right.
Yeah,
Commissioner Marquetti.
Yes, I-
Everybody's
Oh.
business cards in your mailbox.
All right.
Yes, business cards in your mailbox.
I have two things. Number one of which that, and I think this is the first time since COVID, but the Minority Coalition is having their annual February breakfast, and it's February 28th. It's at 7 a.m. and at the Council on Aging. And then the other thing is, I want to say, and I'm so glad to see her here tonight, Emily LeGros, congratulations on the $1 million grant, Spark grant, that they received to, what are you going to do with it, Emily?
It is going towards phase 2 of the beach project.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to expand that area and increase the amenity for our residents and for the people who are visiting, which in turn helps increase the economic development that's going on throughout the
Super.
county.
Super.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Lee.
Just something to kind of bring up, so at both my meeting in Calvin Township Monday night and at our meeting last night, a big discussion happened on ambulances and on how there's just not enough medics, how they're having a lot of issues getting support for that. They did want to note that Pride Care is still fully active. If you've heard anything that says that they're going bankrupt, they are not. But it is important to note that medics are in short supply within the county.
All right. All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Lawrence.
And again, kind of reiterating what he said, that we do have an issue in the county. I had made a statement last night, and I'll make this statement again today, that I would really like to see a county EMS service, but that's something that, looking into the future. And an ambulance, you might think, well, it's not important. Maybe not to us right now, but what about when you get sick?
When I dial 911, I
What
want
about
somebody
when
there.
you get into an accident and you need help?
Yes, sir.
See, this is the thing that people aren't understanding. This is going to affect you as well at some point in time, or could affect you as well at some point in time. And I would like to see a millage to be taken so that we can proceed with a Cass County EMS service. I know there was some apprehension to that because county EMS services have failed, so to speak, but why did they fail? You know, that's the thing. But anyhow, that's what I want to leave with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Locke.
I really don't have any comments.
Yes, that's all good. Commissioner Howey.
I did too attend the leadership meeting last night, and it was the ambulance service was talked about at the Jefferson Township meeting I went to also, because it's a concern of theirs.
Okay.
I'm going to be going to LaGrange, and I'm sure that's probably going to be a topic
Yeah,
there
because
too.
I think they're one of the ones, yeah.
Yeah, so it is important. I've had to call an ambulance to my house a couple times. And we don't have one, that's gonna be pretty scary. So I think it's really important, and it was a very informative meeting. I kind of wish they were gonna be more than just, quarterly stuff, but it is what it is, so I hope this does get resolved soon.
All right. All right, my board member comment is I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.